Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more Leftovers. We're on Season 2, Episode 2. It's called A Matter of Geography. So full spoilers if you have not seen this episode as we deep dive back into this wonderful show. So depressing, but wonderful. Um, yeah, so this is a full-on how the Garveys got to Miracle story. We got just the end bit there when they first arrive. But it's nice to go back to Mapleton, even though it's not really a nice place to go to anymore. Where we get to see the aftermath of what happened after the riots, after Nora found the baby. It's confirmed, that Tommy left the baby there for them, kind of like the baby was left there left for him. I guess he just figured his dad was an honorable person and would take the baby. Um, but, and Nora and Jill and the baby and Kevin have a discussion. And they air all their crazy. Uh, because he's like, she's just like, I'll move in right now. Like if you want to stay with us, she jumps right to moving in. Um, he's I think it's not the most unreasonable thing to say. We don't really know each other, because he's still dealing with the loss of his own family, and even though it's Jill's back and Lori's talking, but Tommy's not back. He doesn't know about Tommy. He doesn't know that Tommy left the baby, and he's just still dealing with everything about Patty. Now he tells them all about this. He tells them about how she came to him and how he's been sleepwalking and he tried to, she didn't come to him, how he took her and tried to let her go and how she killed herself and how Matt, her brother, helped him bury her. And so he puts that all out there. And so what I don't understand is like she thinks it's all okay. She thinks everything's okay, and he doesn't say I'm not okay yet. I'm not okay because he's still like, remember, he was going to turn himself in. He feels responsible. I mean, he brought her out there. Maybe she wouldn't be dead if he hadn't brought her out there. I, on the other hand, think that Patty was going to meet a bad end somewhere. But it shows he's a good person, but he's still messed up. And Nora, by wanting to just jump right into a brand new family, not just right in, but her family's been gone too. But it's all coming together really fast, and Kevin hasn't had time to process anything. That, and also, I just feel like Kevin, like it's brought up later. Do you want to blow your life up? Like I feel like Kevin's never been able to just be who he wants to be. And all that's well and good for a single person. He's got kids, and I feel like when you have kids, you don't get to just blow up your life. But it's all insane. Them just kind of coming together and all that. Like he likes her, he loves her. I think she likes him. I think she loves him. But in this world that they're in, how how easy is it, I should say, to just try to live again? I think is hard, and Kevin's just not dealing with it. Plus, we deal with the Patty stuff. It explains, like, I forgot, like, why he kind of like had that look on his face when he saw the Murphy's couch when he was looking over there. Um, yeah, he's seeing Patty. We just don't physically see her immediately in this episode. It is like what his dream said, that if you go with her, she's going to be with you always. You're leaving with her. Now, you don't really need a dream to tell you that. I mean, if you have that kind of trauma where, it's following you forever. Just maybe not in the same way as Kevin's. But it is similar to what his dad went through. Or is still going through, I should say. But they go to the adoption agency. And what's funny about the adoption agency is that normally this scene is a tense scene because you have to feel like you have to explain yourself to somebody to let you have a kid. And in this case, it's more like the guy just wants to see how stable they are to see how many kids they can take. Because it appears that in this world, after the departure, there's a lot of abandoned babies. Not just ones from departures, people who just don't, who walked away from their lives. Like, well, asking for, I mean, because, in our universe, finding a baby to adopt is hard. You can find, uh, you know, kids, toddlers, more grown children, that are sitting in adoptions agencies and foster homes. But a baby, there's a reason why people are going overseas and stuff for them. But I'm not going to pretend that I understand any of that. So Kevin, though, he's feeling the pressure of being in this town. He's remembering. He goes to the burned out buildings for the guilty remnant. He's haunted, like his dream said. And Kevin ends up like digging Patty up. Goes out there, and he's got the headphones on. Like he needs that constant like distraction to like. I understand that a little bit. Like he's working on the washing machine, and he can't focus. So he goes out to where they buried her. He digs her up, puts her in the back of the truck, and proceeds to purposely cut off a police officer so that he can be pulled over, so that he can be caught. He just gives it up. Like, yeah, I got a body in the back of my truck, and they take him in, right? Um, Meanwhile, Jill meets Tommy at a diner, and she's trying to tell him that we're okay. Why can't you talk to Dad? Why can't you speak to him? He's like, because I'm not. We're not okay. No one's okay, and that's true. But I mean, that's kind of true about everybody. I mean, there's not. Most people aren't just okay. We're not all. We don't. We're not all like in that little package where we can just go, hey, how are you? Fine. And everything is ever just like that. I mean, we can say fine, we can always say okay, we can say good. Nobody's just in that box though. There's a lot of factors. It's that pre-programmed response we give, where if things suck, we just say things suck, but it's more than that. So I mean, I agree with him, but I mean, there's levels to it, and I feel like his inability to just even see his dad is just kind of fucked up. Um, But when he gives Jill the letter from Lori, she rips it up. And when he leaves and gets in the car, and there's Lori in the car, and they have that eye contact from the car, like Jill looking at her mom and her mom looking at her. It suddenly made me think about my mother, and when she left us, because my mother, which she left us, me and my sisters. When I was 11. She bailed to go live a different life, and I remember like a few months later when she decided to like try to come and see us. We had a lot of dealings through cars, and always like that first time when she pulled up to where I was living with her parents, and looking out the window, kind of peeking, and seeing her in the car, this made me think of that and just how awkward that is. Where suddenly someone who gave the person who gave birth to you is a stranger. It's so fucking weird. And now they after they do something like that, they're never, at least for in my case, that person never, it's never the same. It's never going to be the same. And so I can definitely understand Jill's point of view on this, and how somebody that abandons you, who also tries to be a part of your life, it's just like you can't completely reconnect that connection. And it's that's the kind of thing like that haunts me That's the kind of thing that haunts me. So I mean, but anyway, you know, I was listening to I was watching somebody's comment about how they don't like how people in reviews talk like this. That, oh, like it's just like having a conversation. It's like, fine, I guess I could say, this episode was full of well-paced, brilliant acting, and this scene was this way, and the lighting was great. How fucking boring is that? So anyway, um, Nora gets an offer for $2 million for their house, for her house. And it turns out it's because, and we get, boom, 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 a title. The guy that wants to buy it, he's from MIT. And he basically says that your house is an anomaly, that your family that disappeared were all at the table, you were at the sink. And she's like, well, you're telling me that if I was there, I'd have gone too. And he's saying it's a matter of geography, and that if we study this house, we can figure out how to, what people want right now is protection against reoccurrence. And that, could this happen again? And it's like, of course it could. It happened once. It's a precedent. Of course anything could happen again. Likelihood? Who knows? I mean, it's literally, when you get to this kind of point, it makes you realize that really anything is possible. We just haven't experienced anything. I mean, and by anything, I mean, people not... don't know. I don't know how far to take that kind of statement, but let's just leave it at that. There's a lot that's possible out there. We just haven't seen it. But, why wouldn't it happen again? Well, Kevin, he's in jail. He's handcuffed. And the cop comes in with the eye patch. I like that, you want to find out about the eye patch? No. Huh, most people do. And it's just there. It's just a weird random thing. I like it. It's just a little detail. But when they find out about Patty, they're just like, we don't care about her. Good. She's dead. She's part of the guilty remnant. She drove your town insane. She caused, a riot. Nobody cares what you did to her. She killed herself? Fine. But it's like he wants, like, cause she asks him the point, what I said earlier. Do you want to blow your life up? Is this what you're trying to do? Are you trying to, like, punish yourself? Because it really feels like he does. And I don't 100%, and that's one of the great things about this show, is I don't 100% understand Kevin. And I never, ever quite get there. Because everybody's different, and I like that you see all the good things he has, but in his mind, I'm not going to say it's not enough, but boy, does he like to put things on himself, which I do understand that. And this is where we see Patty for the first time, where she's not there, but she's there in his mind. So we got a very Tyler Durden situation going on. And Kevin's father now, he's out of jail. Or not out of jail, out of the psychiatric hospital. And we find out he's going to Australia for an indefinite period of time, which this is major season 3 setup stuff. We're in season 2 and we're already setting up season 3. But we find out that Kevin Sr. hasn't stopped hearing voices. He's just doing what they tell him to do now. So he's going to Australia under these voices' guidance. But he seems fine. He's just not arguing about it. Does that make him any less crazy? I don't know. It depends on whether or not again, a matter of perspective, really. I think, anyway. But he says that I can either worry about the world ending or I can try to start it up again, which, have fun with that, right? Have fun with what that means, right? But he tells Nora and Jill at this nice dinner where he's like completely spaced out and looks like he's being completely, Kevin about to snap again. Kevin. But he says, you want to get out of here. Now we immediately cut to them leaving town. We don't see the whole part about her finding a rental place in this Miracle, Texas place. We don't hear them talk about how they found out about Miracle. We don't hear that they know that Matt's there. But we just go there, which I kind of like, just kind of jumping forward. And we get the exposition a little bit later. And we get to see the outside of Miracle, Jardin, Texas, where we get to see the camp that I was talking about and the bridge. That like they keep all these desperate, like Woodstock campground outside of all these people trying to get in. Like, do you want to sell your wristbands? Like, yeah, sure. We came all this way to give you our fucking wristbands. And the bridge that makes it even more isolated. And then you get there and you got to show paperwork at the visitor center. And then you have a dog. You got to put that in quarantine. I mean, this place is not like some forest preserve, like, you know, like they say national park, right? It's not some average national park where they, you know, they want to make sure that you're not bringing in certain things, like, you know, but it's more like, I don't know, it's like going into a prison. Like this town may have like had no departures, but everybody in there is trying to get in instead of get out. Like it's a reverse prison, but really the people that are in there are kind of in a prison of their own choice. It's crazy. You know, Patty's there to like say, "Oh, I'll watch over the dog." That Good's quarantine, and Stephen Williams' character, who I believe is John's father, offers Kevin help with that thing that he's having a hard time with, but Kevin doesn't know what that is, even though he knows what that is. It's kind of like when Patty, when they said when Kevin's talking to Matt about Patty's burial and her saying that you know what I'm talking about, and Matt says you know what she's talking about, you just don't want to admit it. That's again what's happening here. He just doesn't want to admit that he's seeing Patty. This is the one thing that Kevin's not saying, is that he told everybody that he buried her, but he doesn't tell anybody that he's seeing her. And maybe that's why he wanted to get arrested, so he'd be locked up so that he wouldn't hurt anybody. Like maybe he's so afraid that he's going to be his dad that he wants to get away from the people he loves. I'm trying desperately to still, I mean, this is like the third time I think this is the fourth time I've seen season 2, and I still, like, I'm trying to piece together all Kevin's psyche. But they find out that the rental house that they paid for, was burned down. It turns out that the guy from Family Matters, from the first episode, the psychic, his new tenants that they talk about were supposed to be the Garveys. But then John Murphy decides that Family Matters kid is a fraud and burns down the whole house, making them not have a place to live. So Nora, because Nora's got all that money, she's got all that departure money, not just the house money. She's loaded. I think she's probably got around 30 mil. That she just doesn't, and remember, she don't give a shit about the money. So when she can't get the house, she immediately goes to this auction that just so happens to be happening on that day. Because there's that whole phrase that they use several times in this episode about it was meant to be. And she goes in there and she just goes off. And I love Carrie Coon so much. You guys know how much I love Carrie Coon, and I still don't know her. I love her so much. She spends $3 million on a house, sight unseen. Kevin's freaking out because this is not part of the plan. Again, showing that he's freaking out. Like he just, he's already suddenly got this whole new family, a new home, a new baby, across the country. He hasn't dealt with his own crap yet, and so he's kind of forced to become a father again when he's not ready to. He's got to get over his own crap. But there's so many people that do this in real life. I mean, that just jump from one thing to the next in an unhealthy way. Que sera, sera, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right term. But, people just do what they want sometimes, and without any thought to the consequences, really. They're just afraid of being alone. But, while they wait for their house to be ready for them, they stay with Matt, who's basically living in a garage, and they have to stay in a tent. And he's being dodgy and cagey with Nora, who knows something's up, and she's like, well, what aren't you telling me? And, was it worse than burying a body with Kevin? Which she just blurts out, which is another reason why I love her. But they kind of drop it. Kevin freaks out. He's still seeing Patty throughout this whole thing. And she finally, when they get into their new house, right? We have their version of events of leading up to the coming into the house. Kevin tries to light a cigarette in this house that looks pretty, it's not worth no 3 mil. You know, and that's something that Kevin's gonna use, later on as part of but he tries to light his cigarette, and Patty attacks him, but it's really himself. Remember, she's not really there, so he slams his own head onto the thing. He knocks himself down, and she's basically saying to him, "You have to deal with me. You can't ignore me. I'm not going away." And trying to convince him how she's real, basically, but she's only real in the fact that he really needs to figure out how to get rid of her. And so they're worried about him because he says he slipped and there's no water. Everybody's concerned because he's already, they're not even there 5 minutes and he's acting erratic. So eventually they show the party, they show all that stuff, Kevin and John being creepy and Evie with their seizures. And when they get back home and the lights blow, this is where he loses it. This was not part of the plan. You went all in for what? It's just too much for him. And while Justin Theroux is a great actor, Kevin's been a very difficult character to, like, in season 1 you can sympathize with him a lot. But here in season 2, just like John Murphy, he's not a very likable person right now. Because you see all the other people trying to be okay. Or at least it seems like they're all trying to be okay. But at the same time, Kevin's also the one that seems the most sane because he's trying to figure out his shit. Well, I feel like Nora is still just compensating for the pain that she's pretending she doesn't have. I think Jill is actually the only one that's actually more okay. When she says she's okay, I mean, she's got her mother issues, but everything else seems to be, she's young, she's resilient. She doesn't have failed marriages and kids yet. But she tells him, that Nora needs to be here to feel safe. And, well, what if it's not? What if it's just as messed up here? And it's like, well, just don't fuck this up. And she gives Nora, later, she gives Kevin a chance to come clean. Tell me what's wrong. What is really bothering you? Because they keep talking about, we tell each other everything. That was a dig he threw at her at Matt's when she didn't ask about buying the house. But here's the thing. It's her money. They're not married. So when he says things like our money and things like that, he doesn't really have he's in marriage mode, but they're not married. So whatever she wants to do with that money, he doesn't have to live there. But he doesn't take it. He doesn't take that opportunity to tell her because, of course, you need drama for conflict. Without conflict, there's no drama, and the show isn't like, it doesn't have, it's all over in like 2 episodes. He just tells her what's going on. It's like, and then Kevin tells her about Patty. He goes to a shrink. They work it out. He goes on Xanax or Prozac or something. The end. But no, he can't tell her because it's just the stories don't work like that on shows. And maybe he doesn't even do that. Maybe he just never tells her and he just goes insane. I don't know. But Kevin falls asleep and he wakes up at the bottom of the empty pond from from episode 1 of season 2, where Evie went missing. He wakes up, he's all muddy and wet and dirty, and it's really awesome because it's like it would be. The fish all flopping around. But the part that's, messed up here more than just waking up at the bottom of the pond is that he's tied to a cinder block. So Kevin's sleepwalking again, and in his sleep he tried to kill himself. Wow, that's one way of getting away from your family, right? And again, like his guilt. I love that because, he's tortured by the guilty remnant leader with his guilt over what happened to her. And Murphy shows up with his kid at the same time. This is that night. And Patty's standing there next to him going, uh-oh. Now, knowing what I know and how the season goes, you know, that's supposed to, make you go, oh, what'd he do to the girls? But really, he wasn't there to do nothing with the girls because he was there trying to kill himself. Who knows how long he was there? That's the only thing that I can't remember is was he there before or after they arrived in the car? So anyway, that's episode 2. It's a lot, and I know that at least one person that watches these reviews has not seen this season before, so I'm trying to stay away from spoilers that I kind of threw out a few in season 1 as we went along. So, anyway, if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Let people know that like the leftovers about these reviews. I think we talk about a lot of cool stuff and a lot of interesting stuff and a lot of honest stuff. And I love hearing about you guys' comments in the comment section about what you think about the show and how I'm doing and, things like that. Like, most people aren't giving as much as I am in these, but that's my choice. I don't expect everybody to suddenly start telling me their life story. But anyway, so, yeah, like what I say, like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 all that jazz. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun_smirkinggunreviews if you want to follow me there or leave me a message and just, tell me I'm a butthole. I don't know. But otherwise, this is Rob saying we'll be back with episode 3 next week and can't wait to see you guys there. Can't wait to watch it. So, have a great day and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.